Oh.
Mark brought this morning, so I was enjoying my tea and pie, this story in the news about an advocate, CASA, a court-appointed special advocate for neglected and abused children. This work I do, my sister does, Daryl Rogers here does. And the story goes, a week ago, Raglan, the CASA, was sitting in Minchie's, the frozen yogurt franchise on Northeast 124th Street in Kirkland. Raglan is 31, is both a court-appointed special advocate and a visitation supervisor. So his job is to oversee meetings between kids and the parents who have lost custody of them. That's what he was doing at the yogurt store. He was supervising this meeting between the mother and the child. They asked me to leave, Raglan said. They asked for my ID. They told me the manager had been watching me and wanted me to move along. Raglan did move along, he says, though that phrase, as if it were a stray dog, made him bristle. The police report reflects that the Kirkland officers were told he was there working. In fact, he was legally required to be there to oversee the visit with the mother and son. Raglan had those two with him, who stated that they were there with him for a visitation, the report says. They were asked to leave anyway, and they did. Store employees told me that he had been in the store for a while and didn't buy anything, and he was not making them comfortable. This is the writer. The employees were both thankful that Raglan was gone. They felt he looked suspicious. They had had other incidents of the homeless fighting and doing drugs in the bathroom. And they decided that he was possibly there for reasons that weren't any good. This is a picture of Raglan. They mentioned that he was in the Air Force and basically that he's an upstanding citizen, and they also mentioned in the article that the owner wasn't there and the employees were scared. Now, I've been taught in all my speaker training, and particularly in ministerial training, never to discuss a subject I hadn't worked through on my own. So I'm breaking a rule today because after sitting with it for a couple of minutes, it made me so mad. I am so tired of how this nation treats people of color, or people who aren't standard, or aren't the epitome of the alleged dominant group. So tired of it. And I'm also very disappointed in the fact that he's a CASA, and I know what it takes to be a CASA, and I know what the CASAs are doing, and it doesn't make CASAs any better than anybody else. It's just that I know that they're clear, we're clear as CASAs that we're there for the children. And then for some, ooh, we're scared because he's black, people in the background saying, hurry him out of our store. Now granted, I did say to Mark, well, we have to be careful about where we have these meetings because I have my like meetings in people's establishments. Still, it's not the first time I've heard of call the police because they're black. Tula's is another example. I heard of a group that went to Tula's, and Tula's has some unclear costs. Tula's is a jazz place, for those who don't know, in Seattle. down by Belltown. And the women were questioning, well, what is this extra charge? Why are we doing this? And instead of answering their question, they called the police, who escorted them out. I will not go back to Tula's ever again. I won't go. And it ends up being, you've heard the phrase driving while black. Well, this guy was sitting while black. They said, well, he didn't buy anything, and he just made it uncomfortable. I'm so tired of that. So what does that have to do with us? The reason I picked that song, Calling All Angels, you know, we're angels. And I don't know where the injustices are in our world. I know some of our folks and what we're fighting, but I don't know what everybody's fighting. But this is a call to action to start standing up to this stuff. It just can't go on. We can't let it go on. And it means, and I've been thinking about this for some time, it may mean that we may have to get over our divisions. The ones that the lines that we're drawing. I'm thinking one of my lines is people who vote differently from the way I do. And I have some people who vote differently in my family. One I know of. I still haven't gotten over that line. I'm working on it. And in my band, and who knows where else. But I did make a commitment that I can't let a political difference make me react like these employees did to the man sitting in the yogurt shop. Oh, you're on that side of the fence. I can't have anything to do with you. I have already told myself I have to open up and allow and see them as more than that piece of politics. I have to, because that's half the nation is over there. And I'll tell you, after the last election, presidential election, it took me something to walk out in the streets of Seattle and not look at everybody as one of those people who hates black people, who hates gays, who hates Somalians, who hates Asian, Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese, anybody who's different from the way they are. But I can't look at I can't paint everybody that color, because if I do, I'll have to stay in my house and I'll starve to death. Because I gotta go out sooner or later. So looking at how we're seeing the world, I had the pleasure and the honor yesterday to go to a People of Color leadership workshop. I came through work, fell in my lap, and one of the people of color, she's Japanese Korean, recommended to them that they invite me, and then she followed up with me and said, are you going? Are you going? I really want you to go. I've done a little work with her department. And because she sent me that follow-up, I went. Otherwise, I was like, I sent it on to the manager, and I said, you should see this, blah, blah, blah. The person who's doing the training is the president of the board of Seattle Children's Theater. And I thought, well, it'd be interesting, but I wasn't real. I'm like, I've been through a million of those. What else is there to learn? But when I got the note from the person at work saying, I hope to see you there, I'm going, I thought, oh, okay. And it so happened, so I sent my request in on Thursday. The workshop was Saturday. They were full. But someone had just called and said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. So she put me at the top of the list of waiting and put me in, and I got in on the skin of my teeth. The workshop was okay. What was the most enjoyable thing about it was people of color, predominantly women, one black man, one East Indian man, and the rest women. many of the people in the room were executive directors of some sort of nonprofits. Many of them were young compared to some people in the room. And if I had passed them in the street, I would never have said, she's the managing director, the executive director, the director of this or that or this or that. And it ranged from music, I want to say, to healthcare. It was a broad sweep of nonprofits, so not just any particular kind. And it was just delightful seeing this burgeoning group of leadership. And I listened to all their stories and how they told it. And one woman was completely street. She was, I think, Latina. I'm not sure. And she was wiry and strong, and she had on, if you passed her in the street, you would say, she's kind of streetish. You know, the way she was dressed and her energy, she had all this, Latina, I'm pretty sure she was Latina. She had all this energy, and she was like, and I'm street. She says, but my nonprofit, which she created, says, it's growing, and now we have to deal with grants, and people want to know more about us, and so I gotta step up my leadership. She was out there the whole time. She was great. I just adored her. She was very, very cool. Very high energy. And so hearing them tell their stories and getting to know them and watching them through the day. And so Latina, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Somalian, and Indian, East Indian, just this diversity in the group. I got to sit at the table with the young woman who had said, please come, from SCT, and I knew her a little bit from work, but here we got to tell these, she made us do the leader chart of 5 major shifts in our lives, and the point was, how did we handle change? So we were supposed to pick out these, and was it a, oh, this is wonderful, or was it a, oh my God, this is the pits? So we had these kind of things. And as I listened to their stories, Latina Hawaiian, to my right, said, where I grew up, I was white. I don't remember the details, but she was white. And then where she moved to, they dug up that she was brown. You're Hawaiian, you're Latina, honey, you are not white. You are brown. And she was, as they say, othered. Wow. And she was like, when did I become an other? Move to the next woman. And so she had challenges moving around and being an other, and she was only 22, and she had all this stuff that had happened to her that she had overcome. All of it touched my heart. Then moved to the center woman, who was, from her features, more than likely Ethiopian or Somalian, but it wasn't clear, but somewhere there. She didn't say, she never named her country. She said she was born in the middle of a war, and that her family moved over to the United States, and so she's raised in the United States. And she talked about how her community of the people from her country and the challenges of being an independent, thinking, educated, in charge of things woman, and how that was rubbing against the values in her family and community. And she said she actually owned the house by the time she was, two homes by the time she was 31, and the business, and then it all tanked when the market fell out, and she lost basically everything, had to sell it or lost it, and was starting again from scratch, and now she's the managing director of the nonprofit she works for. And then the third one, the one from my company, and I'll keep hers more private since we have people who know people in this company. Biz works. Yvonne and Mykal's daughter works for the company, although she's leaving. Told of her struggles and impact, and she being the mixture that she was, and coming her family, her mother's experience in particular, and her experience of her mother not being able to speak English in this town, in this country, and what had happened to her along the way. I felt so honored and privileged to hear their stories and to see them beyond just the physical form that they were in. And I keep thinking, if we had more discussions like that, we would have less issues and less fear of people who were different from us. If we were able to look at a black man sitting in the yoga shop and not assume he was the same as the black man who shot up drugs, I'm assuming it was black for them to be so afraid in their bathroom. You know, we might be able to say, well, that was this over here, and this is this over here, who is he, and what is he doing? And maybe we can just ask, you know, are you guys having a meeting here or something? I notice you're not buying anything. Do you want some coffee? Maybe we could approach it that way versus calling the police. Yeah. So I'm not going to go to that yoga shop and tell those people what I think. Not that it didn't cross my mind. But I am, as I work myself through this, wondering, okay, so where am I doing that, or have I done that? And actually it isn't even so much have I done it. Where am I doing it now? You know, when am I taking a look at and categorizing somebody in a negative way versus making an effort to understand where they're coming from? Or even better, allowing them to be that piece that I truly heard fall right out of their mouths, and not painting that as the whole of them. I have a friend who continually says people are 360 degrees. So we may be experiencing 5 degrees of who they are, and there's 355 other degrees that we could experience. I don't know about you, but I will admit, I will paint that person with that 5 degrees and decide he's 5 degrees. That's it. This is who he is, or she, or they. When that's not necessarily the case. Yes, that's a slice, but it's not necessarily the whole pie. And then another thing we do when we have decided they're 5 degrees, if they step out of 5 degrees, we're like, that's an accident. They're really 5 degrees. Yeah. I don't care what they're showing now. They're really this. You know, like I remember that study a long time ago. They made a movie of it where they made 2 movies on the same topic, where a teacher took the minority students and worked really hard with them, and they did really well on their grades, and I was like, no, it can't happen. That does not happen in the barrio. It does not happen in the ghetto. Those kids are stupid. They could never do this well. So they stepped out of their little 5 degree piece, and someone said, oh no. And that happens all the time. In fact, what is it called? The, yeah, well, you know. I forgot the...
Confirmation bias?
Well, that's it. And there was a movie where he took her out of the ghetto and the gutter and made her My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
And they called it, and there's a they call it
Pygmalion effect?
Yeah.
the Pygmalion effect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, the Pygmalion effect. So
I was back in the 5% and saying confirmation bias is when everything that you see makes you think that that's true because I already know that's true.
that's another way of looking at it. Yes, confirmation bias. This is my bias, and now I'm only going to pick the things that support it, and anything that doesn't support it, that's over here. Wrong answer.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, where are we doing that? Are we doing that in our families? Are we doing it with our neighbors? Are we doing it in work? Are we doing it in the yogurt shop? Yeah, I still haven't let go of that, but I'm working on it. I told you I hadn't let go of it. Where are we doing that, and what can we do different? And Thanksgiving and Christmas are going to give us grand opportunities to work with that. Yes, it is. It always does. Well, Stephanie was mentioning she could use some joy, and I heard the tail end of your family experience going smoothly. I pray that every Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you know who's the one responsible for making it happen? Yeah, it's us. It's us. We just need to let go of our biases, our expectations, and just relax. And to your point, Stephanie, I was pouting because a while back I had this wonderful, exciting experience, and now it's gone. And I was like, what is the problem with why it's gone? And I said, the reason it's gone is because it was so much fun and so exciting, and I had so much fun, and it was so exciting, and now it's all gone. And I pinned it on this one person. And so I had to face, I'm not very exciting and fun, am I? And I thought, well, why am I not exciting and fun to me? And I had all this discussion on the way to church this morning, and myself said, because you take things too seriously. And by things, I mean everything. There are some things we need to take seriously, like yogurt shops that throw people out because they're black. But a whole lot of stuff we've just fallen on the sword on. You know? And sometimes we're not just doing harakiri, we're doing seppuku. Now the difference is harakiri, you just fall on it. Seppuku, you want to make sure you're dead, so you stick it in and over. They are not going to save you from that one. Just saying. And that's what we do. We're like, we don't just get a little irritated. No, in and up and over. And we just stay with that. So why am I not having any fun? Because I'm not any fun sometimes. So I could just be more fun. How about that? I could just take it a little lighter. I could, if something's really getting on my nerves, I can take a breath and go over here and do something else for a minute and let that sort of, go out of my system. And sometimes I can have fun with it, like in the moment. We were having an employee issue. We were having a phone conference, and the person couldn't see me, and I was going, well, it made it more fun. Fortunately, they couldn't see me because they were in the seppuku mode, So my antics would not have supported that. And I thought, Pamela, sometimes you can be a bit of a drama queen, but it's okay. So calling all angels. This is the time for angels to show up. This is the time for us to step out of this 5% and over into the percentage where the angels are and allow them to drive us. We don't really have to take it, too seriously to heart. Where are my angels? I need an angel now. I've said that now and then in that way. But really it's just more of a, okay, I'm going to let go and let your word go. Yeah. I'm just gonna let go. I'm gonna let go. Really. I don't have to control everything. Not that I have control issues. Yes, I do. I've been amazed at how much of a control person I am. Have been. I'm a recovering control addict. But we can just let go and trust, because there's a bigger force at work, whether we can see it directly at work or not. It's there. And it doesn't need our permission to work in general, but it does help for us to give our permission for it to work on a personal basis. It does help for me to say, okay, fine. I release and I let go. You can do it. You do it. You fix it. I'll do my part. Just show me what my part is. I'm open. I'm open. So for this wonderful season of trials and tribulations, oh, and Thanksgiving and all of that, we can all just release and let go. Let the angels go before us, through us, as us. So it is.
So it is.